All right, so I have Steve Weisman, founder of Scamicide.com and author of Identity Theft Alert. Steve is one of the country's leading experts on scams and identity theft and has been featured on CBS News, ABC Fox, NPR, PBS, CNN, CNBC, and a host of other programs. And how things have changed since 2008 when, Steve, you wrote your book about Truth About Avoiding Scams. I mean, this is seriously like the wild, wild west, and I don't know how timely is this. I just got an email in my email box showing that Illinois residents are most at risk for identity theft, and among some of the findings, more than half, 54% of Illinois residents have either been a victim of identity theft or know someone who's been affected by the crime, and there's been sickening data breaches in Illinois so far this year. I mean, Steve, what's going on? Should we get just 2 styrofoam cups and a piece of string like the old days?
Well, Jim, things aren't as bad as you think. They're far worse. That's the problem is right now, as you say, it is the wild, wild west, and things are only going to get worse. And one of the problems is when you talk about these data breaches, let's say you do absolutely everything right. You've got your anti-malware software, your antivirus software. You have strong passwords. You're not clicking on links that appear to come from friends but actually have keystroke logging malware that will get into your computer and steal everything. You're doing everything right. You're only as safe as the weakest link of a place that holds your information. So if you're dealing with governmental agencies that get hacked all the time, companies like Target that we saw, or other companies, and we are in jeopardy. So really, what we need to do is protect ourselves as much as possible. But when you talk about keeping things simple. Maybe you want to mail your check. You're probably more in greater risk mailing your check than you are doing it online because what can happen is right now mailboxes are actually being pilfered by identity thieves, and they take out your mail. They get, let's say you're sending your credit card bill. They'll take your check and they'll counterfeit your checks. They'll get your credit card statement in there. They'll send a notice to your credit card company changing the address, so that will give them 2 or 3 months before you kind of realize it's not there. So it's pretty rough out there.
Well, a lot of people may or may not know about this whole massive Russian hacking attack. It affected, 1.2 billion people. How do we kind of protect ourselves? Well, maybe not protect ourselves, but what should we be on the lookout for?
Yeah, and here's one of the things is 20 Russian hackers, and I teach at Bentley University in Massachusetts. But before I taught there, I actually taught in the state prison system in Massachusetts. And I remember I had students who were con men, scam artists, the only criminals we call artists, and they used to decry the fact, and this was a few years ago, they said, back when I was doing my crimes and I was counterfeiting, it took talent. Now any kid with a computer can do it, and that's part of the problem. Identity theft and scams have become something where any kid can do it, but organized crime can do it. You also can do it from around the world. And in the case of the Russian hackers, 20 hackers, and how did they get 1.2 billion usernames and passwords? They enlisted a lot of people around the world. They call them botnets, where they infiltrate your computer and use your computer to send out the malware. So the problem is, with this one, they didn't get credit card numbers, they didn't get social security numbers, but they did get usernames and passwords, and where that can come back to haunt is 2 places. One is, many of us use the same password in all of our online lives. So maybe you used it innocuously on a website that really is no big deal. But if you're also using that for your bank, for your credit card company, or some retailer, then these hackers know that. They take your username and password, go to these places, and they be able to access your accounts. So that's one of the big things you need to take from it. What we need to do is we need to change our passwords, and people find that difficult to do, and I don't blame them, because it can be a pain in the neck. And we're also told to have not just complex passwords and change them, but have a different one for every use that we have of a password. So here's kind of an easy way to do it. They say you want something. If you use just a word for a password, you're toast. The hackers can get that in 5 seconds. But what you want is a mix of letters, capital letters, small letters, symbols, numbers. That sounds confusing, but here's an example of one. I don't like passwords. Now, you've got multiple words in there with capital letters for each word. You've got an apostrophe in there. And then throw 3 exclamation points at the end of it. That's a strong password. And then let's say you're using that on Amazon. At the end of it, put AMA. And you could use that as a base password for many places, and it'll be nice and strong.
That's a great idea because we all have so many passwords. It's unbelievable. And some of the things that you sign up for, too, it'll tell you whether it's too strong or medium or too low. I remember the old days where, you would get the email from, Nigeria saying, hey, send us money. We want to put money in your bank and everything else. And some people fall for it. I mean, that's the old days. Now, the new days, I can go on my website right now, go on the back end. We've got it locked down, and I can actually see what you had talked about, those bots just kind of I would say probably 60 a second just pelting us from, Russia and all over all of these countries. And that's just scary to see that, even though we have it locked down. I mean, but could you imagine all of the other people's websites out there that this is happening the same way?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And as a matter of fact, if you look at the major hackings that we've had, and these have been government agencies, and let's take Target, for example, which was one of the big ones. What sometimes happens is those same kind of basic phishing emails where they get people to think they're getting a legitimate email, they click on a link, and that downloads the malware. What happened with Target was they didn't even go directly to Target. They went to one of the HVAC companies that they dealt with for heating and air conditioning. They got in there. They got an employee to just click on that link. That got them into the HVAC company, and by controlling them, they then got into the computers of Target because that company had access. So very often the sophisticated malware, well, it comes back to we are our own worst enemies. And so that's one of my lessons is my motto, trust me, you can't trust anyone. And by that I mean when you get an email, a text message, any Facebook posting with a link on there, you cannot click on it because you never can be sure if it's legitimate. So what you've got to do is always, and it's a pain in the neck, but you've got to confirm that, yes, someone did really, that I trust really sent that instead of someone posing as my bank.
Yeah, and a lot of times you can hover over that link before clicking on it and see what the actual URL or website is. So I do that all the time. Even the from email, I'll even look at that. But sometimes that's a phishing scam, which is PHISING, which I know you are very well versed on as well. So lastly, I know we don't have that much time, but it comes at a time where celebrity tragedies, as you have mentioned here, and how they endanger consumers. The latest one, Robin Williams.
Very sad. And this is something that's just, as you say, it is the latest. We saw this not long ago with the death of Paul Walker, and before that Amy Winehouse and Whitney Houston. What happens is, very often this appeals to really, sometimes the best, they'll say, here, we've got a link to some great moments in Robin Williams, his stand-up. But there are other times where they're appealing to the lowest common denominator. And you'll get a text message, an email, or a Facebook posting that says, here's a link to video and photos of the police that they have not released. And people fall for that. Curiosity killed the cat, and here it's going to end up making you a victim of identity theft, because if you click on those links, you're not getting videos, you're not getting photos. What you're getting is keystroke logging malware that's going to steal all of the information in your computer, in your laptop, in your phone, make you a victim of identity theft. And like I said, it's not as bad as you think. It's worse. Even if even if you're protecting yourself with the best anti-malware software, it is always at least a month to 3 months behind the latest malware that the bad guys are putting out.
Well, Steve, I really appreciate your time today. I would love to kind of delve into some of these topics even more with you. Any advice for us before we let you go?
Yeah, Jim, and I would love to talk to you about this more, because there are always things they're coming up. It's self-serving, but my book, Identity Theft Alert, has the simple steps you need. My blog, scamicide.com, you can go in there and every day get the latest warnings. But the biggest thing, don't click on links.
I love that. I'm with you on that, and I was going to mention scamicide.com because I went on the site prior to our call, and I was going to say, Steve, is there any way you can write a book daily? And you've done this. You've done this on scamicide.com, and that's how quickly this changes. And there's so many new threats out there. Update your software. Update, whatever you have. Do not let it go. Update it daily.
Jim, if you got a moment.
Yeah,
one quick tip, and this is one, security questions, because when Sarah Palin got her email hacked, what happened was people can go in there, and in her case, they answered her security question, where did I meet my husband, Wasilla High School. Now, they got that off Wikipedia. We might think that we're not in that kind of danger, but we are, because on our Facebook, social media, other places, there is that information of our pet's name, where we went to high school, all of that. So my lesson is, when you use a security question like where did I go to high school, your answer should be grapefruit. It is stupid enough that you will remember it, and no one is ever going to find that answer online.
It's interesting. My head's like a grapefruit. That's about as much as I learned in high school. So that should be an easy one to remember for me. Well, I do hope to delve into some more with you in the near future. I really appreciate you spending a few moments with us, Steve. This is very important stuff to everybody, not just one person, but everybody who's listening right now, especially if you're listening online. So, but don't forget, you can check out Steve Weisman, the founder of scamicide.com, SCAM as in Mary, ICIDE.com. And multiple books out there. So we're going to be checking all of those out as well. So, all right, Steve, we'll have a great rest of the week, and thank you so much for joining us.
Great talking with you.
All right, bye-bye.